We're live. A very, very warm welcome, everyone. My name is Michelle de Klerk. I'm the founder of the Women's Chapter, and today I am joined by one of our wonderful members, Rebecca Rose, who's the founder of To the Fairest Fine Fragrance. Rebecca, it is so wonderful to have you here with us. As always, I love our chats. So thank you so much for making the time to be with us this morning.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to work together. So my name is Rebecca Rose. I'm the founder and creative director for a British fine fragrance brand called To the Fairest. And we make eau de parfum, scented candles and body oils. Everything's made here in the UK.
Amazing. I would love for you to share, because I always find the answer to this question fascinating whenever I talk to any of the founders in our community, and particularly when it comes to fragrance, because I think it kind of feels like it's one of those dream jobs to be working, and doing what you do. How did you come to be in fragrance? I mean, what has your journey been, and how did you land up where you are now?
Well, so I used to work in vintage fashion. I had a boutique in London for about 9 years called Juno Says Hello. And it was quite specific. We just sold cocktail dresses from the 1920s to the 1970s. And I loved it. And actually through that role, I met a woman called Lizzie Ostrom, and that name might be quite familiar to people from the fragrance community. She's a fantastic perfume writer. And she knew that I had this idea that I really wanted to explore. And she was able to connect me with certain people, and it gradually gained momentum. And then in 2019, we launched our first fragrance, Cecile.
Wow. So you've just passed your 3-year anniversary, which I'm sure, as everyone would know, over the last few years, it's been a very difficult time to be in business. But you seem to be thriving. In fact, I know that you're thriving. You've had several fragrances come out over the last few years, and you've got lots of exciting things coming up. So I wonder if maybe you would just want to talk us through the current collection, and then we can move on to talking about what's coming next in the rest of 2023 and beyond.
So we launched our first fragrance in 2019, and then we've since launched 3 fragrances. 2 came out last year, and we have a 5th due to come out later this year, which is really exciting. But of course, in 2019, when we first started, we'd had no idea what was going to happen. And when the pandemic hit, we had to change really quite quickly exactly how people would be able to sample our fragrance. We were a brand new company, an unknown. So it was a question of how do we get our fragrances to fragrance lovers without beauty counters? And so we started the sampling by post system, which was quite sort of heavy duty and expensive to set up at the beginning, but actually has worked out really well, and it really built quite a loyal following. So in the end, it turned out to be a good decision.
Brilliant. And Rebecca, for those that might not know, being a boutique brand and obviously very British, I think people might not be aware of the challenges of kind of producing in smaller amounts and that kind of thing. I mean, has that had a big impact on the evolution of the business? I mean, was that something you really had to kind of work hard to navigate?
Yes, I mean, I always knew from the beginning that I wanted to build the brand fragrance by fragrance. It wasn't the intention to just launch with this fully formed collection of fragrances. I wanted to grow with our customer. And so, yes, it was actually at the beginning quite challenging to find manufacturers who are willing to work with slightly smaller quantities. But that's changing. And I think that's perhaps related to the pandemic as well. And also there are quite a few now, which is a great thing. Lots of independent British fragrance brands who do want to manufacture in slightly smaller quantities. So yes, initially it really was quite challenging, but we got there, and it was really important for me to keep everything within the UK. Packaging, design aspect, everything I wanted to be like a UK product.
Wow. Well, and I think that the way that you've kind of, releasing fragrances one at a time, that gives it, I don't know, that sense of anticipation and not knowing, it really gives you the opportunity also, because I'm a great fan of your fragrances, but to focus on kind of one scent at a time and really enjoy that one, and then kind of be curious about what's coming next. So I hadn't actually ever, because I don't have the background in fragrance or in beauty at all, thought that, you would go to market with a whole collection at the beginning. I don't know, it seems quite natural to me to do it the way that you have done, particularly from a consumer engagement perspective, and to really kind of build, as you said, that loyal following.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also allows you, it gives you the opportunity really to really fine tune the artwork and make sure about the kind of launch experience is as interesting and charming as possible.
And I know for those that do follow you put a lot of thought into the artwork and the stories behind each of the fragrances, and all of them have a really strong individual inspiration for you. But I wonder if we can take some time now to talk a little bit about the highlights of the last year, because you've been very busy. And then we can move on to talking about what you've got planned for this year and the different events and things you're taking part in, so people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we launched 2 fragrances last year, one in June and one in September. And within each fragrance range, there's an eau de parfum, there's a scented candle, and there's a body oil, which was so exciting. There were also very different fragrances. So the first one, Aubine, is this very elegant white floral, quite traditional. The second one is probably the most unconventional fragrance that we've made. A vetiver, very earthy, and I'm delighted to say that it actually won an award earlier this year with Red Beauty magazine. It was their independent fragrance of the year, so I'm just over the moon. But so in terms of production, yes, it was quite full on, but at the same time we were evolving as a business. And for the first time I started working with a PR agency, which I'm so grateful. They're called Brandstand Communications, and it's a really slick operation, and they really know their beauty world. And so that kind of helped move the business forward a little bit.
Well, I think it's so key, isn't it, in your space, to be able to have the endorsement, editorial endorsement, and and the opportunity to participate in awards and all of that kind of thing, which I think when so many people underestimate how difficult that is when you are, because as a small business owner, you are everything anyway. You're HR, you're accounting, you're marketing, you're communication.
It's true. I mean, I was doing it because of my version of PR for about the first, 2.5 years. And that was okay. Sometimes it worked really well. Sometimes it really didn't. And so it got to the point where I knew I needed help with a professional, and I found them. So happy.
Oh, brilliant. That's wonderful. So what have you been up to over the last year? Because I know you've worked with Millie Kendall, and you have lots of exciting kind of other collaborations and taken part in events. What have been the highlights for you?
So I suppose apart from the 2 launches, which were fantastic, and Millie Kendall spoke at the launch of Aubine in June, which was wonderful. I was so grateful. But I think towards the end of last year, I wanted to experiment a little bit more with physical retail, because up until then, we'd been primarily a D2C company, selling through online, of course, but also through Instagram, and WhatsApp has been very good for us. But, the retail landscape is changing, and I think customers wanted something a little bit more experiential. So I wanted to work out exactly where we would fit in best for that offering. So that was a combination of pop-ups, trade fairs. We also did some Christmas fairs for the first time, which were fantastic, actually. It was a really lovely way of engaging with our customer, old and new, and exploring what other people like about our fragrances.
Amazing. And were there any particular ones? Because I know you were at John Lewis in Cambridge for a time, and you were at Dalesford. I mean, kind of, maybe you have a piece of advice or something for someone who might be listening and considering that, direct consumer engagement. What could you share with them about that experience?
I think, it's quite tiring, but there is no substitute for coming face to face with someone who wants to, discover more about your brand. And the best moment is when you meet somebody you've never met before, but they've been buying your perfume for, the last 2 years. And there's a book that I really recommend, actually, by a woman called Fiona Humberston, and she has a website called The Brand Stylist. So
I know, yeah.
And she has this book, I can't remember the title, but it's basically focused on how to make the most of exhibition spaces when you're a brand. And that it doesn't matter whether you sell a product or a service, she's very good at kind of coming up with this fairly comprehensive guide. And that really helped me, actually. What I would also recommend is a wingman or a wingwoman, because a couple of them I did by myself, and it's just, it was fine, but it's quite a frazzling process. And so to have someone there for moral support is a good thing.
Absolutely. And how about anything else that's kind of we should look forward to this year? Where could people find you? What's in the diary?
Okay, so spring events are now kind of gaining momentum, which is great. So coming up soon, we have National Fragrance Week towards the end of this month, which is really exciting. We're doing a few online events, which will be in our newsletter. We're also doing a physical event at Mortimer House on Wednesday the 22nd. Details of that will be on our newsletter again. But further on in the year, we're actually taking part in the UK's first ever day-long fragrance festival, which is in Barnes on the 20th of May. And this is the brainchild of a wonderful woman called Amanda Carr. Again, the fragrance community might know her from We Wear Perfume. That's her tag on Instagram. And lots of independent British fragrance brands will be there, but it's not necessarily a kind of selling event. It's also going to have panel discussions. The idea is it's sort of experiential retail. There might even be a live podcast, which is working that out right now, but it's the first of its kind, and it should be a really interesting day.
Amazing. And so you said that's in Barnes.
Yes.
So kind of just outside London, for those that might not be based in London, on the 20th of May. That's brilliant. Well, certainly for the Women's Chapter members, we'll share all of these dates with them. And for those that receive our newsletters, it would be great to have all of these from you as well, Rebecca, so that we can share them and they can make sure they're in the diary.
Absolutely.
And I'm also really excited that for anyone that's coming to our Women's Day celebration on Wednesday, Rebecca is taking part in that. She's one of the brands that's showcasing to the Fairest. So for those that will be there during the day and then all coming in the evening, you'll have an opportunity to meet Rebecca and to try her fragrances firsthand for yourself. So we're really, really excited to have you there, Rebecca.
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
I know. International Women's Day this week, or I suppose March, is always such a big month anyway. So it kind of feels like this is always our flagship event or occasion for the year. So I'm really excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but it's going to be so wonderful to see everyone, particularly after the time we've had. Last year we did do an event for Women's Day, but it was still kind of one of those first just out of lockdown, and people weren't quite sure. If they were ready to interact face to face. But I think we are all really, really back in the swing of things now. It promises to be a great event. And over National Fragrance Week, where can everyone find your events? Will they be Instagram Lives, or how best can people find those so that they can hear more from you?
Yeah, there's a couple of Instagram Lives, and we're doing a webinar as well towards the end of the week, and then a physical event, which will be ticketed, free tickets, but we just need to work out numbers, on Wednesday the 22nd. But all of those details will be in our newsletter, which goes out at the end of this week.
Brilliant. And I did see that you had a call to action on Instagram today for anyone who hadn't signed up for your newsletter, because you still do your fragrance samples out with your newsletter as well, or when you have a new launch?
When we have a new launch, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we're launching a new program, a VIP program later this year, probably in June, to kind of coincide with the launch of our 5th fragrance. So what that VIP program means is that there will be early access, there will be a special offer price for people who are on that program.
Amazing. And the 5th fragrance, are you in a position to tell us anything about kind of its inspiration or anything about what we can expect?
Sure. So the name is Oracle, and it's a gender neutral rose, very softly spiced underneath. And it's been, we'd spent an especially long time, I think, making sure that this is exactly how we wanted it to make the wearer feel. The packaging is really exciting too. It's made from pulped coffee cups. And so we work with this company called GF Smith, who are absolutely brilliant, based up in Hull. And they've got this really special paper made from these pulped coffee cups. And the texture is just extraordinary. Anyway, it just really, and also the color of this particular paper really connects with this very soft rose that we're using in the fragrance. So it should look and feel really beautiful. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's amazing. And do you have a favorite fragrance in your collection?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think Cecile, which was the first one that we came out with, I think that will always be quite special to me. And it's still actually our bestseller. It seems to really resonate with customers, which is wonderful. But I think for me personally, I mean, it changes all the time. But I think right now, I love Eau de Cosmique. There's something about that fragrance. It's got quite metallic notes at the opening. It sort of connects with the cold weather. There's something that I really love about that combination. But I'm afraid it changes all the time.
Oh, but at least, I mean, that's the great thing, is that when you've got a few to choose from, then you can go with your mood or how you're
Yeah.
feeling, or like the weather. I hadn't even thought about that actually, in terms of, because we're due for a really cold snap. So.
I'm afraid so.
And in terms of, you mentioned gender neutral. I mean, is that a big kind of focus now in the fragrance industry, where people are thinking more about anyone being able to wear their fragrance, like, this kind of really inclusive approach?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think for the niche fragrance brands that I know, it was never really, we just sort of assumed that, everything that we create or everything that we would like to wear ourselves is sort of gender neutral. I think it's perhaps the more traditional fragrance houses that have their traditionally feminine fragrances or masculine fragrances. But I mean, I've never really paid much attention to those labels, only in the sense that when I was a teenager, one of my favorite fragrances to wear was, I don't know if you remember Polo Ralph Lauren Extreme Sport, I think it was called. And it was
Yes.
this sort of, I think it was supposed to look like a barbell, like a gym barbell or something. And sort of not really connecting with the teenage girl in terms of marketing. That didn't bother me at all. I was completely obsessed with the scent. It was the first time that I had smelled a kind of peppery fragrance. It just blew me away. And so I really couldn't care less, what the packaging was like or who it was targeted to. I just knew I wanted to wear it. And so maybe that's just stuck with me ever since. But I mean, all of our fragrances are, we say they're all gender neutral. Of course, some, for example, Obene, the white flora, it does have more traditional feminine, like an energy to it, but they're for everybody.
Amazing. Well, and I've been a massive fan of your latest release, the one that came out toward the end of this year, and you very kindly sent me one of your candles, because for anyone that's been to any of our kind of smaller, more intimate events like Clifton, Rebecca's candles, or To the Fairest candles, always scent our tables. So we've been very grateful, and we hosted an event in Surrey last year as well, where we had the candles scenting the table. But I now, and that was always the Odile that I loved. No, Cecile, yes, that I love, the blue ones.
Yes.
Now the green one that you've given me, every time anyone comes into the house, they're like, oh my God, what is that? And it doesn't even need to be lit. I just keep it on the countertop in the kitchen, and it smells so good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, we
I
do
should try
use, yeah, they're quite strong. I mean, we use quite a high concentration of fragrance oil. So the idea is hopefully it will scent a room in a very subtle way, even unlit.
No, I love that. And because it's kind of, when you have a dinner party, or if you've got people coming over, or sometimes I like them just for me, but at the same time, when I'm moving around in the living room and I can catch a scent of it now and again when it's not lit, it kind of feels like, it's the gift that constantly gives.
Thank you.
Rebecca, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about that I might not have asked you about, in terms of, I don't know, any news, any new things we should be looking out for? Anything you're particularly excited about?
Gosh, well, I think we've covered most things in terms of the events. I mean, further on in the year, we're hopefully doing Stylist Live. That's not till November.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited about that. And we're doing a few more pop-ups as well. There's a brand new it's a retail village opening in East Anglia called Ben's Yard. I think it's the same architect as behind Bicester, so it's a similar kind of feel. Anyway, they have this really beautiful permanent pop-up space, and we're taking that in the last week of October, I think, so it coincides with half term. So that's going to be kind of a big project for us, really, because it's quite a large space, but I'm so excited about that. But yeah, kind of closer to where we are now, we've got, of course, Mothering Sunday, your event, National Fragrance Week. So March is quite a busy month in terms of fragrance.
Amazing. Well, Rebecca, that sounds like so many exciting things. And I mean, because I am in events and I know how much is required when you pop up somewhere, or you investing that time and space, it seems like you have a huge amount. Is your team evolving with you as you're taking on all these new projects?
Well, hopefully, yes, because I'm not sure I could repeat the kind of cycle of events from last. Like I say, it was really enjoyable, but I think it's tested me to the limit, just in terms of logistics and things like that. And so we are doing bigger events this year, but there's a little bit more space in between them, which I think for us is crucial. It just helps us get really organized. But yes, the team is growing, but the people who've been with me, kind of key roles, have been with me since the beginning, which is wonderful. So we've kind of got, I would say it's a really good connection that we have between all of us.
It's such an important part, and I think unless you have started a business, you don't fully appreciate the importance of finding people that you really click with, where you've got good chemistry, but equally who treat your business like their own. And then obviously as we build our businesses, to find the right resources is often, and I know from our community, it's always what people say is the biggest challenge, right? Is finding people.
Well, I must mention Penny Williams. I totally agree, Michelle. I mean, Penny Williams, who is our perfumer, she comes up with a formula. You know, she's been with us since the very beginning. So the way that we work together is, as creative director, I go to her, we talk about the brief, we talk about how, you know, the mood of the fragrance, how it's supposed to make a woman feel or a man feel. And she's just fantastic. And I should also mention Olga Amaretli, who's our head of operations, and David Newland, who is our head of graphic design. I couldn't do this without them. They're amazing.
And Rebecca, I also wanted to mention, because I know that the literary influence is really strong for you, and you've taken part in some literary festivals and things as well. Am I wrong when I think you were at Cheltenham Festival last year? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like how does that influence translate into the inspiration for each of the scents?
Sure. So actually last year, it was the Isle of Wight Literary Festival.
All right, okay.
And we were, I mean, they have a lot of sponsors. We were one of the smaller sponsors, but it was just such a fantastic collaboration to do. Because you're right, you know, a lot of the influence behind our fragrances, it comes from various books. And just one example, you know, Cecile, our first fragrance, that's the name. It's very loosely inspired by the main character in a book called Bonjour Tristesse. And it's about a young woman sort of on the cusp of womanhood and exploring new landscapes. And I just wanted to capture that, first of all, very radiant feeling. She spends a lot of time in the south of France, and I wanted that joyfulness to come through, but also the sense of exploration. And, you know, this is just one part of the influence behind the fragrance, but yeah, books do tend to inform a heavy part of our creative process.
That's lovely. I love that there's an opportunity kind of beyond what you can smell and what you experience when you're wearing it, but that there's all of these other layers of inspiration beneath how that fragrance was created. It's really special. And I know that for those that follow you on Instagram, and I would encourage everyone to as well, and sign up for your newsletters, that you do talk about that a lot and kind of communicate the influence and inspiration behind each of the fragrances in your collection. I wondered too if you might be able to share a little bit more, kind of as a business owner. Do you have like a key piece of advice that you would share with somebody just starting out, or maybe somebody who's having a hard time at the moment? Because I think there's definitely been that feeling over the last few months where everyone kind of started the year, and then there's a sense of overwhelm that abounds at the moment. What advice would you share around kind of how you, I guess, keep balance, or how you stay motivated?
Gosh, I mean, I wish I had the answer. I think for me personally, what has been just indispensable is actually networks like yours, Michelle. So that sense of community, especially when you're working by yourself, a lot of the time you can just feel that you're shouting out to the ether. And, you know, if you join a community, business community, it can be local or virtual, you realize that there's quite a few people in the same boat, and it doesn't matter what their business is, they'll be experiencing similar kind of pressures. And that has been quite a comfort, actually, and, you know, to have that support network, because it has been really tough, and it will continue to be tough, you know, in different ways over the next few months, I think.
No, definitely. I think, I mean, and I certainly didn't prompt you to say that, but I'm very grateful. Thank you. But I think finding a community or a group of people that you can, whether they're family or friends or fellow business owners, that you can really be vulnerable with, and you can share where you're at, is invaluable on this journey. So thank you very much for sharing that. And do you have a best piece of advice that you've been given?
Gosh, that's I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of very recently, I've been working with a woman called Wiz Selvey, who I know is
the women's
chapter. And she's been so incredibly helpful in terms of sharing her business advice. I know that she does occasional free webinars on LinkedIn. So if anyone is interested in that side of things, then I highly recommend signing up. But yeah, she's been wonderful, actually. And through her, I've met another kind of small business community, mainly female founders. And that's just been really wonderful. Podcasts, I do a lot of driving for my job. And so actually to have quite a few good business podcasts lined up has also been quite helpful.
Amazing. Well, Rebecca, it's been, as always, so wonderful to talk to you. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you, to engage with you? So kind of in terms of call to actions, and we will share these links in the comments as well afterwards. But if anyone who's listened here would like to know more and chat further, what's the best way?
Well, Instagram is always a great place to start. We're also very active on WhatsApp. So people find that quite a friendly way, I guess, of engaging. It feels much less formal than writing an email. Our catalogue is also fully loaded up to WhatsApp as well. So that's kind of a shopping channel that we use. But Instagram is always a great place to start. Also LinkedIn.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And for those that are joining us on Wednesday, you'll get to meet Rebecca in person. I know that quite a few of our members haven't met each other yet because we all correspond a lot on WhatsApp and talk to each other a lot. So it's going to be kind of a big reunion day on Wednesday to celebrate International Women's Day, but also to have an opportunity to try your fragrances. And then over Fragrance Week as well, everyone, please do look out for the dates that Rebecca will be posting around how you can get involved. You can listen to webinars, tune into Instagram Lives. And also the 22nd of March, how do people go about booking for that one for Mortimer House?
So there'll be an Eventbrite link through our website, through our newsletter.
Okay, amazing. Because I know that you regularly host private client events and individual appointments for anyone who's interested. So do you still have a number of kind of limited appointments left for people to be able to do that, to book in?
Yes, actually, in March, there's on our website, there's a kind of little booking calendar. So if you're interested in that one-to-one consultation, there's no charge at all. It's 45 minutes and you can bring a friend. And then there's a small discount on any product that's purchased after the consultation. So they tend to work really well. People seem to really enjoy them, as do I.
Amazing. And Mortimer House is such a lovely space to meet anyway. So I think it's really on brand for you, kind of in terms of that look and feel. It's very costing, isn't it? So thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as always. And I hope that you've got to share everything that you wanted to talk about today. But we will be in touch and see each other on Wednesday. And for anyone else, please do sign up to Rebecca's newsletter, tune into her Instagram, make sure that you're following them. And if you've got a chance to on the 22nd of March, book in for her Fragrance Week event at Mortimer House on the 22nd. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. Great to speak to you.
No, I do. Lovely to see you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.